What's up? I'm Wile E. Coyote, voice of SpongeBob, the anime version of SpongeBob SquarePants, and you're watching the Anime Egotists.
Remember, F is not for failure, F is for friends, and it doesn't take a dose of secret formula to know that.
And welcome back to the Anime Egotists, where we once got kicked out of Hiffle.
Yeah, we went to HE double hockey stick for real.
Yeah, and then they kicked us out there too. They really did not want us around. They really didn't. And anyways, my name's Alex, and honestly, I don't trust a lot of anime characters.
Neither do I, and I'm Richard.
And they shouldn't trust us either. But that being said, last time we were here, we talked about some of the saddest moments of anime. Just the moments of anime that broke our hearts, made us sad, and really just got us to weep over some of the stuff these characters are going through.
Exactly, but this time we get to be a bit more happy.
That is correct. This time we're talking about some of the most heartwarming moments in anime. The moments where characters show they care about each other, love each other, accomplish something. Just stuff that got us to cry in, well, the right way.
Yeah, these were the moments that just make you go, wow, all that dark, sad, and long battles were worth it in the end.
That's correct. And I guess there's nothing more to do than to start. But before we start, we're so close to 900 subscribers. Please subscribe and get us there before... I don't know what before, but just help us get there.
Yeah, we're shooting for 1,000 shortly.
That's correct. And for this list, do you want to start us off?
I can. So my first one is hearing the recording from Dr. Stone. So towards the end of the first season, they've managed to pretty much make the human survivors remember who, or discover what science can do for them. And they actually have a grave site, and it has this little disc in one of the graves that's actually a recording made by Senku's father, pretty much, who is, because he was up on the space station and survived the petrification, and he's pretty much, with this recording, gives them tells Senku that he knows that he's the one who's going to hear this one day. And it's also kind of there's a singer who was brought up to the space station as well, and she records like one song so that the world can know what it was like. So it's just a kind of a touching moment of something modern has survived, and they've passed down the information, and they know that there's something that can be done with this.
Yeah, I honestly, even with the little I know of Dr. Stone, I don't think I've even heard this part. So it's just his dad's recordings?
Yeah, it's just one little thing, and pretty much he's pretty much recording it because he believes that Senku, the main character, will be the one that comes back and is able to rebuild humanity. And so he is literally just recording a few things, letting him know that he survived and that they created they started having kids and created a whole new civilization to try to start helping rebuild the world. And that's kind of where it starts. And Senku feels it's one of those emotional moments that, because Senku doesn't necessarily show the nicest emotions, he kind of shows a lot of greed, a lot of thirst for knowledge, but never true like connection with people. So that's what this really gives him.
And I can understand that. Definitely, I definitely feel like it must have been a very touching moment. I can co-sign on to that.
Yeah, I really enjoy that one.
All right, so my first one.
Go right ahead.
Psyche's birthday from Psyche K.
Okay.
Alright, so at this point in the series, Psyche hasn't really warmed up to everybody yet, but at the same time, he's willing to help them all with his problems. And at first, he kind of realizes everybody's kind of avoiding him. So he thinks to himself, oh, this must not be good. But it turns out they just realized it's his birthday. So they all want to do some, throw a party for him. Well, not realizing it's actually his dad's birthday, not his birthday. But I guess the episode needed a plot. But ultimately, the main two people who I wanted to throw love to were both Kaido and Psyche's dad, because everybody else gets Psyche this really weird gift, like a cake with his face on it, which he doesn't seem to appreciate. It's just a bunch of other weird gifts. But Kaido, the delusional kid with Chunibyo, just says, "Oh, I just wrote him some letter, and maybe I should read it." And Psyche kind of rolls his eyes, and Kaido basically reads the letter and it says, "Hey, Psyche, I know you think it's weird I'm writing you a letter, but I think we've become close. We've made a lot of friends with each other thanks to the start of the show. I know that deep down you're always looking over me, and I really appreciate that. So thank you for being born." And everybody starts crying over the letter, and Psyche's like, where the hell did this come from? But you can tell deep down he legitimately appreciates it, especially once they get to his house for the party, and his dad says, well, why don't you just go down there and spend time with them? And Psyche's like, I would just ruin the mood. But his dad tells him that they don't care about that. These kids like you and you like them. That's why they went through all of this. You're not going to ruin the mood because they want to be with their friend. So go down there and spend time with them. And Psyche says, who are you to give me advice? And he says, I'm your dad. I don't know. It was just a really wholesome, kind of cute way to end out the season. Finally, for Psyche to acknowledge, yeah, their pain's in the neck, but they're my friends.
So that's kind of how you feel about us, right?
Sure, but I don't remember any of you doing stuff for my birthday, so I don't know if I don't know.
That's true. But I can co-sign. I think that would be a very touching moment, especially for how, of what I've seen of the show. I know that he kind of wants to just be left alone most of the time, or he acts like he wants to be left alone so much of the time. So to finally accept them.
Yeah, it was a really touching moment. Especially because you could tell the second Kaido read that letter, Psyche had a smile on his face, like, well, guess I can't stop him. And I'm like, oh no, you care. You care more than you lead on.
Yeah, it sounds like a really touching moment.
Yeah, but that's the first one for me.
All right. So my next one, the way I titled this one isn't going to sound like a touching moment, but it really is. And it's Loxus's exile from Fairy Tail. So at the start of the series, Loxus is one of Fairy Tail's strongest guild members, but he's also pretty much the biggest jerk, and considers most of the guild to be too weak because of their connection with each other. And after pretty much he turns on the guild during their big festival where they celebrate the guild and its connection to the town they're in, and traps everybody and makes them fight to remain in the guild because he's saying he's taking over. And because of all this, at the end when he's defeated, he kind of sees the error of his ways. He really does care about the guild. He just wanted to make it stronger in his own mind, and kind of comes to realize that, hey, that their connection with each other really is what makes the guild strong. But his grandfather, who's the guild master, still exiles him from the guild, so he's no longer allowed to be there. The part that really gets to be the heartwarming moment is that you get flashbacks to when he was a kid and during the same exact festival, and he tells his grandfather, who's going to be watching because it's his first time being in it, that he'll send up a symbol. He holds his fingers like this above his head, and he says it means that I'm looking your way. And as Loxus is walking away from the festival, his grandfather sends up the signal and he sees it, and you see that he realizes all that he's done to hurt the guild, and that he regrets everything that he's done over the last little bit and really wants to make amends. And it's one of those, it's sad, but it's also one of those that you get to see that he isn't necessarily going to be a bad guy forever. There's going to be some growth. He's going to learn to be a better person.
Yeah, I can understand that. And does he have this growth throughout the series, or no?
Yes, yeah, he does. I've talked to I think a little bit about it with the Raven's Tail part of the story, and because I think I talked about them once, maybe I don't remember, but yes, he does go through some good growth and does eventually rejoin the guild after a couple different events.
Hmm. All right, and I haven't gotten that to that part in Fairy Tale, but I can co-sign. It does. It sounds like it has a good mix of emotions for it.
Yeah, it's still relatively early, so it's good.
Yeah, but my next one,
Go right ahead.
Kazuki remembers Yuzuko from Buddy Daddies.
Okay.
Honestly, a lot of people don't necessarily love the dead wife or the dead parent trope in anime, and trust me, I understand why. But this one was just done so effectively. I'm kind of okay with it. In Buddy Daddies, it's obvious they're assassins, obviously, and Kasugi ends up losing his wife in a battle. Well, so much so that he feels guilty about it. And the worst part about it is, it's not you. It's not necessarily somebody does it on purpose or somebody does it to get to him. It's just an accident, but he still finds ways to blame himself for it. And ultimately, his sister-in-law Karen shows up, and I'm not going to say they teased her being an antagonist, but we didn't necessarily know at first, is she going to be a good person or not. But ultimately, after finding him, she says, "I miss talking to you. Like my sister would not blame you for this." She especially wouldn't want you to be all hung up and depressed and hating yourself about it. And Kasugi finally admits, he says, the reason I just don't want to remember her because it hurts too much. And it's so much different because a lot of other anime are like, you have to move on at some point. You have to move past it at some point. But Karen tells him, look, those memories must hurt, but think about all the wonderful memories you've had of her. Think of all the amazing times and how much you grew because of her. And ultimately, like the two are back on good terms again. And the episode ends with Kazuki putting up a picture of him and Yuzuko back around the time they met. It's just a really touching moment because we finally get to learn really what's been eating at him the whole series. And at some point, you do have to move on with your life, but you can still keep the memories. It's like she says, memories aren't a prison.
Exactly. This is a very big moment, especially for Kasaki, because I mean, throughout the first few episodes of it, you see him going and hanging out, and I don't really know what they're called. They're kind of like maid cafes and stuff, and different things like that.
Yeah.
And just kind of not being the nicest guy when it comes to women and stuff. But then you do see him go through this growth.
Yeah, especially just realizing that I was going to have a baby with my wife, and now I have a baby with my best friend. So I don't know. Oh, it really just helped us open up and just as we learn more about him, we just grew to care about him, and it's just nice that it's like I have to move on, but I'm always going to have a place in my heart for her. So I don't know. I thought it was a really touching moment.
It really is. It's a really nice moment.
Yeah,
All right. So my next one.
go for it.
So this one was actually kind of hard for me to pick out which moment, but I wanted to do when Naruto asks Iruka to be his dad at his wedding.
I thought about putting it on my list. I didn't do it.
Yeah, there were. I was debating which Naruto moment, and this was the one I ended up settling on. It's such a nice moment because at this point, you know that almost anyone would be willing to do anything for Naruto. At this point in the series, he's the hero of the village. He's the hero of the world because he's of what he did against Kaguya at this point. But he still goes back to the one person who was there for him pretty much since the beginning of his journey, the one who first truly believed in him, the one who gave him his headband, his first sensei. It's just a touching moment, and you can see that. And it's so. I love the moment right before where Naruto pretty much shows up and he's kind of drunk because he was so nervous about asking him, and Iruka thinks that he's getting cold feet and just try to scold him, and it's just such a kind of a nice moment overall with them and still having that pretty much father-son relationship of, hey, stop being stupid. You know you love her, and it's time you made that commitment. And it's just it's one of those nice moments that I like.
I especially love the moment of when Iruka hears it because he doesn't he like you can tell he's not expecting it, and then he hears it. He's like, "That's what this. Yeah, I got you." And Naruto bows his head because we all know he's going to be Hokage at this point. But he's still the fact that he still says Iruka Sensei, like I'm always going to be learning from you. He bows his head, and as he runs off, Iruka starts crying, and honestly, so do I, because I can't handle that.
Yeah, and it's such a nice cap to once you find out all of Aruka's backstory, where he actually did absolutely hate Naruto because the Nine Tails killed his parents during the attack, and then so he at first believes that Naruto is the demon fox, to starting to accept him as a student, to being the first one to believe him, and now being asked to be his father at his wedding is just, it's such a nice moment.
And especially when you go back and rewatch the first episode because he was there.
Yeah,
He was
that's
he because it wasn't just simply, "Oh, Naruto, you're screwing up. You're a mess." It's you're screwing up, and you could be so much better.
mhm.
And now he's the Hokage, so it all kind of works out. But I can agree. I don't know too many people who get through that scene without getting choked up.
Yeah. All right. Your next one?
All right, my next one. Akiza's parents finally cheer her from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds.
Okay.
All right, so I talked a little bit about the WRGP tournament, the 3-on-3 Turbo Duel tournament, and honestly, as good as much as I enjoyed the duel itself, I think I enjoyed the moment with Akiza a lot more because Akiza starts off with uncontrollable psychic powers, and people basically are terrified of her, and she has no friends up until Yusei and the rest of the group accept her. And after this, she's been in their version of Duel Academy for a good while now. She's becoming nicer to people. Well, people are less scared of her. But during the tournament, Jack gets eliminated, and then she gets eliminated, leaving everything to Yusei. And she's like, "Yusei, I'm sorry." And Yusei's like, "Forget it. You did exactly what I wanted you to do." And he goes off to handle the rest of it. And she is breaking down, like she is shaking a little bit, it to where the rest of the team say, "Hey, don't worry about it. Look up in the stands." And her parents have not been the best of people. They've been terrified of her, they've pushed her away. But it's not necessarily in the case of we hate her, it's in the case of we don't know how to help her at this point. So when she looks up in the stands, she sees her dad has a Team 5D's flag that he's waving and he's cheering her, and her mom's cheering her too, to the point where everybody in the stands next to them is looking confused, but they start clapping and the whole audience starts clapping for her, and she says, "Thanks, mom and dad." It even gets to the point where you see the announcer for the tournament, he's tearing up and he's trying not to cry, and someone just pats him on the back like, "Hey, we have a show to do. You have to keep on." He's like, "Yeah, that's right. Hey, can you save the day?" And of course he can because it's you say. But ultimately, just with everything Akiza went through and just how hard her life has been, just the point where her parents and everyone else are at the point of, "Hey, we have your back. We're proud of you. Don't ever beat yourself up like that." I don't. It was just a beautiful moment that even among the Yu-Gi-Oh community, I don't feel like a lot of people talk about this.
Yeah, it sounds like a really nice moment of just finally being accepted and managing. It sounds very similar kind of to how Naruto grew and was, people were terrified of him and kind of rejected him, and then uh eventually when he proved that he was not a necessarily bad guy and could help. So it sounds like that kind of similar moment to that.
Yeah, except the Leaf Village were full of fake people. No, some of those people I'm still like I don't trust them.
Oh yeah, true. It's yeah, that is very true. At least this one was more focused on her parents being the ones cheering for her.
Exactly. But yeah, it's probably I don't know if Akiza's my she might actually be my favorite female character in Yu-Gi-Oh, but then again Anna Kaboom exists, so who knows at this point.
I could see it. At least she seems like a competent duelist for. I mean, at least in the first two series, Alexis was probably the most competent female duelist that we ever got, and then
Yeah, I thought about saying Mai, but the last few seasons of her, I'm like, I'm so confused. Why is this happening?
yeah, they there's too much with Mai in that series. So yeah, I can kind of understand why Akiza might be your favorite female character in the series.
Yeah, but that's it. Akisa's parents finally accepting her, but that's it for me.
All right, so my next one.
Go for it.
So this is a really early moment in One Piece, and that's Luffy puts his straw hat on Nami before attacking Arlong. And it's just one of those moments that everything's going to be all right, despite the fact that we haven't even entered the final battle yet. And Luffy has put, at this point, his biggest treasure, his straw hat, on someone who at this point has betrayed him, stolen his ship, and was pretty much working for another crew this entire time. And then the fact that she was betrayed by Arlong, despite the fact that she probably should have figured that out long beforehand, it's still one of those sad moments where you feel when she starts breaking down because he's taken all the treasure she's gotten to try to buy her village's freedom from him. He's just that she's absolutely suffering, and Luffy steps up and is like, he doesn't really say much. He just puts the straw hat and says, "I'll be back," and starts walking to Arlong Park to pretty much free the village.
That walk is still one of the most badass things I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. I just everything. This is the moment that most people say when they start watching One Piece is what hooks them. If you can get through the first kind of introduction arcs with where you meet the original core 4 members of the crew, then you get to this point and it's like, wow, this is actually going to be an amazing show.
Well, once you get past Sanji's Brooklyn accent, I guess anything's possible at that point. But no, I do remember really enjoying this moment of the arc. I especially just love how Luffy doesn't really hold it against her. He's like, I trust me. I get it. Even though he's a better man than me, because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to like Maka chop you or something. After that, we're good, but I'm a little peeved.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he still believes in Nami, especially after, I mean, she pretty much should have destroyed her arm. She took a dagger and stabbed herself in the arm multiple times to where she had the Arlong tattoo, and it's not a pretty moment, especially if you watch the version that's not censored like 4Kids did.
Hey, come on! The 4Kids stuff had some gems, especially Zoro in particular.
But not this moment. This moment they changed a little too much. But
you're saying, you say that, but the 4Kids version is at least memorable. That's better. That's better than most anime nowadays.
That could quite possibly be.
No, but I completely co-sign onto that. Like I said, Luffy and the crew basically just saying, even though you did all this, we still have your back. And then, like I said, the badass walk.
Yeah, the badass walk is still, I mean, that's still considered one of the best moments in One Piece, no matter who you ask.
Yeah, especially when people do memes of adding that cool Jimmy Neutron clone from that one episode, and they start putting him in the scene with it.
Yeah, yeah.
I can co-sign those. So my next one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, from Persona 5, Futaba calls Sojiro dad.
Okay.
Alright, so at this point, Futaba's basically come out of her shell a bit. At the same time, though, it's kind of hard for her to completely adjust to the world as it is. To the point where, for the longest time, you notice Futaba just calls Sojiro, even though he's fully adopted her at this point based on everything she's gone through. And when her uncle shows up at the cafe, Ren or Joker or whatever his name is he helps Futaba and the rest of the Phantom Thieves basically get him to have a change of heart. But social services basically still show up and say, hey, okay, you're both living with this guy. What's he like? And the game's I like the way the games do this because you could be nice and say, oh, Sojiro's awesome. Or you could just say, Sojiro's kind of a pain in the neck, which based on the way he treats Ren in the beginning kind of makes sense. But at the same time, with Futaba and just how socially awkward she can be at times, she finally steps up and says, "No, we're really enjoying it here. I'm happy living with my dad." And Sojiro kind of realizes that's the first time he's ever fully called her that, because for the longest time he had no idea how to help her with what she was going through. And they leave and say, "Oh well, I guess everything's good." And you can tell Sojiro's trying his hardest not to break out into tears, but he's so proud that she's finally called him her dad after all this time.
Yeah, it is a very touching moment. You feel that that she knows that he was the one person who actually did truly care for her, despite her pretty much hiding from the rest of the world. And he would have done anything to help her if he knew exactly what to do. He didn't know how to help her, and that's, I don't know, that's something that could be just as important as actually helping someone, is being there even if you don't know what to do to help fix it.
Exactly, and it especially makes it better in the games because you get this scene where Sojiro's talking, and he finally said, "As you know, you guys have done a lot to help her," and it actually changes because if you help her before he learns you're the Phantom Thieves, he's like, "You didn't think it was? No, that's probably not it." But then once he learns, he's like, "Oh, that was you." But he finally just accepts you as family, while also telling you, "Yeah, please don't date Futaba. I mean, you're basically." Even I don't know, it's weird because he's like, "Don't do it," but like, "I'm not going to completely stop you." Oop, it hasn't already happened yet, has it? And I'm like, "No,
Not this playthrough.
not this playthrough. I still don't know how the game works."
But yeah, I will 100% co-sign. I remember seeing the scene in the anime and going, "That's nice that she finally called him her dad."
Yeah, but that's mine. Is it honorable mentions time?
I believe it is. Yeah.
All right. What's your first one?
So my first honorable mention is one more from my childhood. It's still kind of a touching moment now, but um, I really enjoyed it because I had this on VHS, and that's Ash's Pokemon coming out of their Pokeballs to keep him warm in the one episode. I forgot what it's called. Pretty much, Ash is trying to keep his Pokemon safe by putting them back in their Pokeballs, and they just start all coming out, and you feel that they truly care for him because they all want to just keep him warm despite the very cold temperatures outside.
Yeah, it's weird because first of all, I agree. It is a really touching moment to show they care about each other, especially since it actually you go back and Pidgeotto's there, which shocks me. But at the same time, the weird thing is, I don't remember the synopsis or the plot or even the ending of this episode, but everybody remembers that one specific moment because in almost not every Pokemon clip show they show that during one of the songs.
Yeah, it is one of those touching moments because they've developed such a relationship in the amount of time that they've had, which at this point is probably 50 episodes.
Something like that.
So yeah, it's just one of those. It's a nice little moment, especially because you see before that Ash isn't. Ash in the first series, especially, was a lot more selfish, and this is one of those moments that he's like that you realize that he's not as selfish as he always came off as well.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It's one of the more memorable scenes, but at the same time, actually, no, it's one of the more memorable scenes. I don't have anything more than that.
Yeah, as I said, I had a lot more connection with this one because I had this on VHS, which was so I watched it a lot as a kid.
Oh, the ones I had on VHS were when he catches Caterpie and when Team Rocket helps that Paris.
Interesting. I because I had some of the I we used to go to a dollar store in down in my hometown, and they had like $1 VHS tapes of Pokemon. And then from my understanding, it's like I think I sold them when I was in like high school.
I
And
remember
shouldn't
you
have.
told me you sold the Christmas one.
Yeah, that one's worth a fortune. This one I think is also worth a good bit. And I had your absolute favorite episode with Gligar Man on
No,
VHS.
that's nobody's favorite episode. That shouldn't be anybody's favorite episode.
Come on, it's Gligar Man. Everybody
Yeah,
loves Gligar Man.
yeah, Gligar Man needs to be attacked in the streets.
Yeah, but this is really a nice moment overall. I really enjoyed it, and as I said, it's very nice to see how much his Pokemon actually care for him.
Yeah, and I can co-sign on to that.
All right, your first honorable mention?
All right. Choji realizes he has friends in Naruto.
Yes.
Like I've talked about before, Choji was kind of had a sad childhood, but it was basically just he didn't have a whole lot of friends. But after meeting Shikamaru and the rest of the guys in the Sasuke retrieval arc, they all kind of realized this is an important mission that they have to succeed in. And while he's fighting Jirobo, he's the first person to say, "Hey, I'm going to fight this guy on my own. Basically, I want you guys to have faith in me while I have faith in you to go save Sasuke." And he ends up beating Jirobo after telling Jirobo, "Oh, you threatened my friends and you insulted my best friend. I'm not letting you live after that." But at the same time, as he's about to basically keel over from having those pills, he sees messages on the trees that the guys have left for him saying, "Hey, hurry up, head this way. What's taking you so long?" And he's breaking down and he's having a montage of memories that he's had with the guys. And his dad always told him, "Choji, you're going to be fine in life because you have the kindest heart out of everybody I know." And as he's about to collapse, he tells himself, "You're right, Dad. I made some pretty awesome friends." And yeah, fun fact, I watched this scene the other day and came downstairs and my mom's like, "I think you're getting sick. Your eyes are kind of red." I'm like, yeah, maybe I should. It's probably just I slept funny, but whatever." But I don't know. It's probably one of my favorite happy scenes in Naruto. But that's probably just because I love Choji so much.
Yeah, combining this with the fact that pretty much throughout, I think, the same exact episode, he's also talking about how in his mind how if he takes the red pill that he's pretty much going to die, and he takes the pill and you think he actually dies, but he gets to die happy knowing that he truly had friends and had made a difference in the end in this specific fight. So it is a very touching moment.
Yeah, and Kishimoto says, "No, you're getting more, but you're gonna ruin me down the line, right? No, actually, you're set. You're set for this series. Oh, I'll keep going then."
Yeah, it's him and Shikamaru really don't change that much and actually remain relatively decent characters.
And honestly, I'm completely okay with that. But anyways, just Choji realizing that he's had friends, and because it's not just for show, that they all have his back, and it's especially nice because later down the line, you see the Sasuke Retrieval Squad hanging out with each other a lot later in the series.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's one of the most successful failed missions that I think we ever see in the series, because they managed to pretty much cripple Orochimaru's organization for a little while because they killed 4 or 5 of his strongest shinobi, but they still lost Sasuke in the end.
Well, at least for a couple of years, then they got him back. So long term storytelling. It was part of their plan all along.
Yeah. All right. So my next honorable mention.
Go for it.
So I don't know how heartwarming this one is, but it felt right to put it on this list, and that's Serenity's first sight and actions in Yu-Gi-Oh.
That's a good one.
It doesn't necessarily feel that heartwarming, but it also does as well, and that's why I put it on this list, and at least as an honorable mention. The first thing she gets to see is her older brother, who has just fought off mind control, saving his best friend and sacrificing himself. And then she jumps in the water, swims down, and saves her older brother. And it's just a touching moment because, I mean, she kept talking about the first thing she wants to see is her older brother, and she gets to see her older brother at his best. She gets to see Joey saving his best friend.
Yeah,
it's just
And as much as I don't love giving her credit, but Taya was kind of like, "Hey, don't take off your bandages yet," because she thinks if the first thing Serenity sees is her mind-controlled other, she's never going to recover from it. And just the fact that Serenity knows at this point, okay, now I can do it, and that the first thing she sees is Joey swinging on the chain and doing a actually pretty decent Tarzan and yell. Oh, but I do agree. It was always the moment I replayed the most whenever those episodes came on.
Yeah, as I said, and it comes at the end of one of my, as I've talked about, one of my favorite duels, but this is one of my favorite moments of just actual good emotional storytelling from the original series of Yu-Gi-Oh! There's other there's not necessarily that much in the first part of it. They did, in my opinion, with emotional storytelling, but this part I really feel they do a good job.
There was one moment I wanted to put on it, but I'm like, I put a Yu-Gi-Oh 5Ds moment on. I want to have two. I want to have two Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. Maybe if we ever do a sequel, then we'll talk about it.
This one might be. I might be able to do another one for this.
Yeah, but not for a little bit longer. But like I said, that's probably one of my favorite moments from Yu-Gi-Oh, so I can definitely co-sign.
Yeah, especially from the original series. There might be more. I haven't seen all of GX or 5D, so I don't know if there's anything. I'm assuming there's good moments in 5Ds because it's so much darker.
And see, in GX, Dr. Crowler has some really good ones towards the end.
Okay, as I said, I need to. I've kind of started watching a couple. I picked up at the Domino City arc, little mini arc that they do.
Okay, but I can co-sign onto that.
All right. So your next honorable mention?
The Black Bulls free luck in Black Clover.
Okay.
So during the Elf War arc, a lot of the best knights have been basically taken over by these powerful elves. And it's not one of those things, it's not like in Naruto when it's like, oh, these people get brought back, but they have the same personality. It more or less just sort of feels like, oh, well, they're just being taken over at some point. But I liked how during the battle with Luck, I believe it's Asta, Magna, and Vanessa all going up against Luck, who's basically been taken over. And it's a pretty decent fight all around, but then they finally managed to free him thanks to Asta. And calling Luck a psychopath is kind of an understatement. And he's very happy, but in a terrifying way. He kind of just wants to kill everybody he fights, but then he wants to kill everybody he fights alongside his friends, because I guess you have to have a hobby with your friends and stuff. but and he and Magna are always bickering with each other to the point where you start to wonder if they're really friends. But after he finally wakes up out of his brainwashing, he knows everything that happened. And for the kid who's always smiling at everything, whether good, bad, or indifferent, he has tears pouring down his face, and he says, "After everything, I'm still part of the Black Bulls, right?" And then Magna just pulls him in for a hug and says, "You idiot! Of course you're still one of us." And then Luck starts crying even more. It's just for two guys who all they do is basically beat up on each other. The fact that they shared that moment, and Luck was so worried that he was going to lose their friendship, and they just said, "No, you're still one of us." I don't know. It's one of the best moments of the series, honestly.
It sounds like a really nice moment. I got so many things to catch up on. I need to finish GX, and I need to catch up on Black Clover as well.
Well, there's a movie coming out next month, and I'm probably watching that the day of.
So if we're filming on Friday, it might be later or earlier then.
Or I might just wake up early and watch it. Who knows at this point?
Okay, but yeah, it sounds like a very touching moment, and I can see, especially a character like Luck, who pretty much hasn't been able to show any emotion besides wanting to fight something throughout the entire series, and to have them break down and actually be upset about something would be a very hard moment, I imagine, but also very nice when Magna, who is pretty much a stereotypical punk, is the one who is actually to embrace him.
Yeah, from what people have told me, Magna's basically the Yamcha of Black Clover, and then people start saying, "Don't start saying that." Apparently, he's doing stuff now. I'm like, I'd love that, but just the anime needs to come back. Like, please.
It's going to turn out that Magna ends up becoming the Wizard King first.
Actually, I'm okay with that.
But as I said, it sounds like a really nice moment, so I'll go ahead and co-sign.
All right, what's your next one?
Koro Sensei's last gift to his class in Assassination Classroom.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked about his death where the whole class held him down and stabbed him in a few episodes ago, but his final gift to them is pretty much their yearbook, which is absolutely massive. When they show it, it's like this big. And his what he calls his rules to live by. And there's just from what you can tell when they're sitting there looking through it, there's little notes to the students and telling them that he believes in them and that he knows that they'll succeed after this year together. And it's such a touching moment that you realize that this class that were considered the failures of their school and going to be failures in life really will go out and succeed now, and that they've learned to believe in themselves despite the fact that everybody else pretty much told them that they would never succeed. And it's just a nice way to end the series. As I said, I wish that they had managed to, like Koro Sensei had been able to be saved and him tell them this in person. But the way they did it at the end with him still passing notes to the students, pretty much telling them that he still believes in them, is such a nice moment.
Yeah. You've talked about it before, and even I know people are like, I can't do this moment. And like, you can't just watch the moment again? No. I'm like, all right, yeah, well, fine, whatever you say.
Yeah, the fact that the students stay at the school pretty much overnight after killing Koro Sensei and waking up having read parts of his book, because there's no way they got through the entire book, it's just it's a nice little ending to the series.
It's like One Piece. They've none of them have ever actually gotten through that book. They're just like, oh, it's been like what, 10 years and we still haven't finished it? Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's about right.
But yeah, I can co-sign. It does sound like I do. Part of me does want to give this show a chance, but part of me is also like, well, I know how it ends, so what's the point?
Yeah, I know. It's one of those, but there are good moments throughout the series. So if you ever do give it
Yeah, it reminds me
I
of
think you'll enjoy it.
It reminds me of Toradora. Like, I know how it ends, but so why watch it? But the only difference is Assassination Classroom actually sounds like something I'd want to give a shot, and Toradora is just like, no, that's I.
Yeah, as I said, I think you would enjoy it. I haven't spoiled everything. I've spoiled a good bit of it, but there's still a lot to this series because it's 2 seasons of 24 episodes each.
Yeah, but I can co-sign onto that.
All right, your next honorable mention.
All right, Sarah saves Yagi's sports day from Haven't You Heard I'm Sakamoto.
Okay.
Do you remember Sarah, perchance?
There's only like one girl I can kind of remember, and I only saw like the first 2 episodes with you, so.
Well, Sarah, his goal is he wants to be, I guess, a stand-up comedian of some kind, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't fully get it either, so I don't fully understand him either, but he's also somebody who's like, well, Sakamoto's so cool, maybe I should trip him up, only for it to never work out. I don't know, looks-wise, he kind of reminds me of Dio Brando from JoJo's, except if Dio decided to become a stand-up comic instead of, well, whatever he decided to do.
Vampire monster thing?
Yeah, something like that. Anyways, though, during the sports festival, he and Sakamoto are in the same class, and a bunch of people in the class, for some reason, are trying to mess up Sakamoto, even though if they do, they'll probably lose the sports day. I guess, I don't know. Oh, but ultimately, there's this girl named Yagi, and she ends up tripping and falling in the baton race. And a lot of people are judging her for it, like, oh my god, how could she trip? She's going to cost her team. All this horrible stuff. And Sakamoto tells Sarah, hey man, this is going to be Yagi's sports day. This is the memory she has to look back on. And Sarah's like, no, I understand. I know what I have to do. So he takes the baton from her and starts running. And he puts his head into his shirt like a turtle. Well, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and here's the thing. When I first saw this moment, I thought to myself, Oh, well, Sakamoto, when he was about to mess up, he did all these fancy moves, like he ran like a cheetah, or he spun like a crocodile in the amp in the safari, which I don't think crocodiles spin rat like a primary lotus, but whatever. So
Actually, they
I
do. It's their death roll.
what like they'll jump up, grab something, and like spin around.
Um, maybe not jump, but they'll when they bite something, they do a death roll to break its neck or break its bone to make it
Okay,
easier.
but do they spin like a rotisserie chicken?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, then I need to start going on this old man safari because they sound amazing to watch. So he puts his head in his shirt like a turtle, and I'm like, oh, okay, so he's going to use the turtle style running or whatever it is. But then it flashes forward, and they're like, wow, oh, that sports festival was fun, but whatever the hell Sarah did, I don't get it. And it turns out he wasn't doing that. Turns out he just stripped naked and just kept running.
I heard that. I'm glad you said this was a guy because I thought with the name Sarah it was like a exchange student and would be female. So
Yeah, but yeah, and the thing is, it's got at the same time though, it got everybody to stop thinking about Yagi messing up. It got everybody to think, oh God, this weirdo stripping naked and running through the track and field. And then later in the episode, Yagi walks up to Sarah and says, "I'm just here to wash my hands. That's it." But then she turns to him and says, "You know, for what you did, you're actually cooler than I thought you were." Because he doesn't have a whole lot of friends. He's just the weirdo who tries to make people laugh, but then he kind of realizes people aren't going to laugh because they think I'm funny. People are going to laugh because they actually like me, and hopefully the stuff I'm saying is funny. So I don't know. It was kind of a sweet moment of him saying, "I'm going to sacrifice my dignity, whatever of it is left, so this person feels better about their day." I don't know. It's a weird moment, so it's an honorable mention. But I don't know. Not everything has to be super deep and complicated. Sometimes it's just some dude ran naked for me, so I'd feel better. It made me. It was nice.
yeah, it sounds like a very comedic but also very sweet moment of sacrificing their own dignity for someone else.
Yeah, yeah. I thought about saying the ending, but I talked about the ending before, and I went back and watched all of these moments beforehand. I can't get through the ending without the ending makes me very. It's heartwarming, but it's also kind of sad.
I need it. That's another show I have to add to my list of stuff I should watch or
If
finish
you can,
watching.
I have it on DVD. I got it on DVD for Christmas a little while ago.
Wow, because I remember we just sat down and tried to and started watching this like the last week of my senior year of college.
I know it was the last semester, and you got busy, so I'm like, you know, look, we're about to graduate. He's about to graduate. We're even if he wasn't, we're not going to see each other for a bit. There's no point in waiting for him. I'm just going to see if I like this, and I'm like, oh no, I really, really like this show.
Yeah, so that's and luckily that's only 12 episodes, right?
12 episodes, and it's fully dubbed.
I may if I can find it, I may fit it, watch it or binge it to one of these days so I can at least know all the details.
He just strips naked for yeah, yeah. I got nothing.
All right, so my last honorable mention.
Go for it.
So this one is what I know you can at least talk about with me on, and it's Vegeta's sacrifice in the Buu arc of Dragon Ball Z.
Yep.
We've gone through so much with Vegeta, from a true bad guy to an anti-hero to at this point he's pretty much stayed an anti-hero up until this point. This is kind of his I'm now a true hero. I really do care about the people of this world and at least Bulma and Trunks and want to keep them safe.
Yeah.
And the fact that like he knows he's going to his death and he knocks out Trunks and makes Goten.
But before that, he hugs Trunks.
Well, that's true. Yeah. And just there's so much emotion, and you feel that this is really Vegeta's turning point of I'm no longer the bad guy of this show who's acting as a good guy. This is his I'm becoming a true hero. I'm becoming a Z fighter for real. That's this moment. And it's such a nice moment because you actually do feel his growth throughout the series and his frustrations, because throughout his life he was told he was among the best, he was an elite, he was better than everybody else except for pretty much Frieza, and then he's been left in the dust by Goku for so long. It's just one thing after another. So you feel where his anger and his frustration came from that led to him becoming Majin Vegeta, and the fact that he overcame that and knew what he had to do, just at least try to save the world. It's a really nice moment.
Yeah. Especially since he knows, like Piccolo told him, hey, you're not going to the same place Goku did. Goku spent his life helping people, risking his life, sacrificing his life. If he's going to heaven, I can't say the same about you. And he's like, oh well. Oh, and he says the iconic line that everybody knows, I'm doing this for you, Bulma, Trunks, and even you, Kakarot. And even though the abridged series never did the Buu saga, whoever played Vegeta in the abridged series did record this line. And he said, I'm doing this for you, Bulma, Trunks, and even you, best buddy.
That is so nice. As I said, this is one of those moments that if the abridged series had ever gotten to, I don't know how they would have handled it. I have a feeling it would have been like they knew how to do emotional moments still, so I could have seen this being a really nice moment.
Yeah, for all the flack the Buu saga gets, this is a moment that I don't think anybody has a problem with.
Yeah, it's just said this is kind of what sets up for Dragon Ball Super Vegeta, where he's still got his anger and all that, but he's much more kind. He's much more of a family man, is probably a good example.
I love when Trunks runs up with the baby and he's like, hey, you're not holding her right. I'm just like, oh my. You blew up a planet, like 10 years ago, you blew up a planet. Okay, maybe not 10 years, but you blew up a planet and now you're scared that somebody's going to drop your baby girl. That's adorable.
Yeah, as I said, this is just one of those that is the perfect setup for Super when you look back on it.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I thought this would be your number one, so now I'm curious as to what your number one actually is.
It's a more recent moment that I don't know how much you'll be able to talk about, but we'll get to there.
Oh, joy, I think I can guess. Okay, but my last honorable mention?
Go right ahead.
Megumi hugs Tomoko from Watamote.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm noticing I really like sports festivals and school culture festivals. Probably why it was on my second list for best anime cliches. But ultimately, Tomoko was having a horrible time trying to set up everything and just get involved with the culture festival. But she ends up meeting the school president, Megumi, who ends up being really kind to her. She can tell Tomoko's kind of off because it's Tomoko, but ultimately she doesn't care. All she thinks is, I'm the class president. It's my job to show kindness and help other people when need be. And Tomoko had her best friend with her throughout the festival, but when she had to leave, she was kind of sad throughout the day. Hey, ultimately, where Megumi borrows, I want to say it's a dog costume or a dog mascot outfit from somebody wearing it, and at the end of the day, she appears in front of Tomoko in the mascot outfit with a balloon. Tomoko stands up, takes the balloon, but beforehand, Megumi in the costume pulls Tomoko in and just gives her a hug. And then she walks off, and Tomoko's like, what? And then she kind of has a smile on her face that says, oh well, like she was happy to get that. And that's especially funny because we don't talk about the ending songs a lot for an anime. Like when an anime ends and then they play the ending song, like the opening song in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the ones for Watamote are either super depressing or kind of hardcore. But this one is it's just a pleasant, happy song that plays as she walks home with the balloon. I don't know. It was just a moment where, like I've said, Tomoko goes through a lot, and you want to just reach through the screen and just give her a hug and tell her everything's going to be all right. It's nice to know that Megumi thought to herself, yeah, she needs a little bit of kindness. I don't know. It's one of my favorite moments.
It sounds like a really nice moment, especially, I mean, with what you see the character go throughout the series and just the social anxiety, and it sounds, based on what you've described of with the wanting to go through the screen and give her a hug. To have a character actually do that seems like a really nice moment.
Yeah. And later, I want to say it's either after Megumi graduates or maybe beforehand, she finally admits, hey, that apparently she was the one who gave her the hug through it. And Tomoko, you can tell, because like I've said before, she's not a bad person, but Tomoko's not exactly the nicest person either. But you can just tell that Tomoko has nothing bad to say about this girl. And based on what I've seen from the fan base, everybody loves this girl. And how could you hate her?
Yeah, so as I said, it sounds like a very nice moment, and I guess I'll co-sign for that one.
Yeah. Out of all the shows I've brought up, you didn't say, "Oh, I have to give this one shot." I'm like, no, I don't blame you. It's a hard show to get through.
Well, I've given I think the first 2 or 3 episodes a shot, and I just the social anxiety part is
I understand.
a lot. So
It's a hard. Would you believe I've watched it twice,
all the way through,
all the way through?
I've heard it's really good. I don't know. I didn't want to deal with the kind of the feelings at that point.
Would you believe there's a visual novel about it?
I cannot see it. Yeah.
No, but it's basically just go into your room to talk to your brother. Your brother kicks you. Your brother kicks you out. Stay inside. That's the first 2 levels, and then the game's over. No matter what you do, the game ends in about 3 levels.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's my last honorable mention. Just Tomoko just getting some form of love by seemingly the best student council president ever.
Yeah, it sounds like it. As I said, I'll go ahead and co-sign.
All right. Hey, since Vegeta sacrificing his life for our sins isn't the most number one heartwarming moment, I guess I have to ask, what is on your list?
Aries smile from My Hero Academia.
Get the fuck. Fine, go ahead.
This one is built up pretty much throughout this entire season of seeing what Aries gone through. That fact that her kind of adoptive father has pretty much been torturing her to try to use her quirk to be able to delete quirks from everybody, and just pretty much torturing her, cutting her open. I mean, they literally show the knife and then blood trickling down her arms and bandages. And you know that this has been going on since she was pretty much a toddler. This is her quirk is pretty much rewind. She can rewind things into the past. And it's just knowing that she's gone through all this, she's finally rescued, and she doesn't really know how to show any emotion besides pain and suffering. And that's the only thing. And so the class 1A, who has most of the students who helped with her rescue, really want to help her smile. And so they put on this big concert. You get a really amazing song, and you go and you get the her finally smiling and learning to enjoy herself. She gets treated to all these different activities because it's at their the school's cultural festival, so they're doing all these different things. They take her around, and you get to see that she's starting to be a kid for the first time in her life. She's excited about all the little activities, getting to hang out. She gets to cheer on her rescuers doing their different activities throughout this cultural festival. It's just a really nice moment. And in my opinion, because it's built up, and it's built up so well throughout this entire season it's just a really nice moment of finally getting to see her overcome the darkness that was around her.
Meh.
I know you don't like My Hero, but this is.
I've never seen My Hero. What makes you think? I can't say I don't like it. I've never seen it.
I know, but it's just, in my opinion, this is one of the best heartwarming moments.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can. Part of me doesn't want to because you keep bringing up Gligar Man like he means something, that he's not a parasite on our culture and everything wrong with society. But I do. Even I've heard from other My Hero fans, this is one of their favorite moments. I don't know if it's their de facto favorite moment, but I know it's definitely up there.
Yeah, as I said, it's by the community in total. It's considered one of, if not one of the best, or if not the best moment, but it's
I,
of the heartwarming moments, it is the most heartwarming moment in the series.
I've
So
heard. Oh no, I've heard people say it was All Might comforting Todoroki, but sure, why not?
heartwarming, I would say this trumps that by a long shot.
How the hell should how the I can
I know.
call them and ask them, hey, what do you think of Richard's takes? And they can say meh, like I did, but who knows?
All right, but your final one?
All right. Wow, I didn't have a single Pokemon one on here. I'm kind of proud of myself for that. But since you decided to go with the Dragon Ball Z Boo Saga moment, I decided to as well.
Okay.
Goku returns after 7 years.
Okay.
Because look, a lot of people say Goku should have stayed dead, and like you could argue back and forth on that one. But I love the idea that Gohan gets told, "Hey, Goku's going to be returning for one day to compete in the tournament," and you can tell he's excited. You can tell he tells Chi Chi and everybody like, "Oh, cool, Goku's going to be back." They're awfully relaxed about it. I know it's like, "Oh, he's coming back from the dead. Cool, whatever." Ever. And when Goku first gets brought back in the Saiyan saga, there's not a lot of time for celebration because everybody's dying and everything. But when Gohan says, "Hey, I'm gonna go look for him," maybe he's already on the tournament rounds. Nope, he appears right in front of them alongside Baba, and oh my god! Look, I appreciate Dragon Ball Z Kai for what it did. Made it faster and made it better, made it easier pace so you can get through it faster. But the original version just did this so much better because everybody gets a moment that gets and Goku's like, "Wow, Gohan, you've grown so much," and everybody kind of gets their own like stare off with Goku. Like Krillin's trying his hardest not to cry. Piccolo has a little bit of a smile. Oolong, in particular, had a moment like he was not like he couldn't process what was going on, and he tells everybody, "Well, are you guys just going to stand there?" And almost everybody from Dragon Ball and Gohan just run up, scream Goku, and just hug him. And then it gets to another controversial topic: Goku and Chi Chi, and Chi Chi says, "I miss Goku. I miss you so much," and Goku just I don't know why this part gets to me in particular, but Goku just says, "I miss you, Chi Chi," and I'm like, they care about each other. I'm so happy to see it. But then he sees Goten. He's like, "Wait, there's a little me behind you," and Goten's noticeably nervous, and I can't really blame him. And he says, "I'm Goten," and Goku doesn't say anything stupid. There are no stupid jokes here. There's no silly moments. He just gently says, "I'm Goku. It's nice to meet you." And after some hesitation, Goten runs up and hugs his father, who he's never met and thought he would never get the chance to meet. And they bond instantly. It's just so beautiful because even though it's one day, they don't care. They're happy to see their friend, and there are some tears by them, and it kind of makes sense. It's one of the most beautiful moments from even if Goku had completely stayed gone, little moments like this always would have been cool to see, whether he stayed away or not.
Yeah, I can 100% agree to this. It's a very heartwarming moment because you feel like they're not used to death being a long-term thing. I think the longest anyone's been dead is like 6 months in the entire series.
Something like that.
So the fact that Goku pretty much said, "I'm not coming back, I'm too much of a risk," and all that, and then but he gets today to come back and spend a day doing what he loves with the people he loves is a very heartwarming moment. And you get the everybody's reaction really does feel genuine of, "Hey, we're finally getting to see you again after all this time," and it is really nice.
Yeah, I thought about the moment where he tells them, "Hey, so it turns out the old man gave me his life, so I'm back permanently." But I don't know, this one just got to me so much more, especially Goten running it, hang up out of all things, because we look, everybody makes the jokes Goku's not a great dad, and I don't really agree with. I don't even like most of those jokes, but just the idea that he and Goten immediately bonded, like it's like we have one day, let's make it worth it, and just everything. I
Mhm.
don't know. It's one of my favorite scenes from the show. Oh, just because it really captures everybody perfectly. Like they're all happy to see him, even if some of them, like Android 18, haven't really gotten to know him yet.
Yeah, pretty much everybody there knows that he's the hero that saved the world more than his own fair share of times, and it's just as I said, I'll 100% co-sign. This is a very touching moment.
Yeah, and I know, just like everybody else, if there was somebody who's passed on who they told me, "Hey, you get to see this person for one more day," I'm like, "Yes, do it. Let's do it. What do you want to do?" But
Yeah.
and of course, to me, that's why I'm glad Goku came back, because he is, look, he's still the heart of this franchise. Like, you still, some of the most touching moments you get from him, whether he means to do it or not.
Exactly, and yeah, there really isn't a Dragon Ball franchise without Goku. There's no way. I don't think it could continue the way it has without him.
Yeah. But what if you guys were in it? No. You've seen us. You've seen us. We'd make it worse.
Yeah, we'd probably get beat up in the kids tournament.
Don't stop. I want to say no, but we've also done that video about us in the Dragon Ball universe, so I'd like to think we're competent.
Probably not.
But anyways, after 7 years, Goku returns, even if it was just for one day. The emotions by everybody, and just everything involved, just make it probably one of my favorite anime moments. Some of the most heartwarming stuff.
Exactly.
Alright, are we ready to close out? Is that everything?
I believe it is.
Alright, so, ladies, gentlemen, and others, what are some of your favorite heartwarming moments in anime? They could be serious moments, somewhat bittersweet moments, or just outright goofy moments, like somebody stripping their clothes off for someone else's dignity. Just anything really.
Yeah, and I mean, do you agree with our list? Do you have other moments from other series that you feel are even better heartwarming moments? Because we might have enough for another list of this one.
Yeah, and I actually liked filming this one a lot more than the saddest moments, because that was hard to get through.
Yeah, that one was a little tough.
Yeah. But anyways, let us know some of your most heartwarming moments, any questions, comments, or suggestions, anything involved. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. This has been Alex.
And Richard.
And you have been listening to Anime Egotists. Good night, and peace easy.